Help Action Needed, a D&D podcast. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Help Action Needed. I kind of forgot where the rest of that intro was going. I think I'm just going to leave this in. Characters, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Kate Pizarchik Johnson, and I play Nori.
This is Dan Johnson, and I play Cass.
This is Julie Perez, and I play Frog.
Cool. So, recapping what happened last time, so everyone can kind of know. Our characters were invited to a secret meeting to kind of determine whether or not the town walls and gates would be knocked down / come down. And while there, Cass kind of established himself as a little bit of a leader, pointing out that the plans that the town made were a band-aid to a short-term problem at best, and not so much a long-term solution. And a group kind of looked around and realized something was amiss, as someone was hiding in plain sight, disguised as someone that was supposed to be at the meeting. This person turned out to be none other than the toll collector working for Jarl's Bellman, who was coming in and stealing the money in a highway robbery situation. Chaos ensued as Cass was not able to convince the townspeople to not take their rage out, but at the last minute, the martial shopkeeper George stepped in and knocked him unconscious, in which they were taken to Delilah's shop to kind of interrogate and see what's going on. And after a round of questioning in which our characters learned, and so did the townspeople, that no money was intended to come to the town, and that the Duke Bellman doesn't even seem to have plans to keep the town going in its entirety, Cass made a threat that the character would lose their life, and we come back and join us all now, right in that moment in which Cass is threatening the life of our gatekeeper.
So after saying that out loud, just going to sort of gauge the reaction of the group around us, sort of seeing if this was too out of the blue, or if this was a sort of accepted from the group.
Yeah, no check needed. I don't think anyone in the room, other than maybe Nori, because Frog, you're kind of in full Chaos Frog mode right now. I don't think anyone in the room second guesses that or thinks of that as not an image or not an idea.
Okay, so that being said, if no one sort of is jumping in, Cass is going to cast prestidigitation and just sort of make a little X marks the spot on the side of the guy's head and get his quarterstaff out and just start like lining it up slowly and be like, all right, so there's two ways this is going to happen now. We're going to continue having this conversation and you're going to be helpful, or this is going to go very poorly for you. I would really prefer that this does not go poorly, because I like to think that this is not at all your fault. You're just stuck in a bad position. But then again, you've also known that all of this money stolen from the people is not going to help the town. So I'll leave what happens next in your hands here and look back to the group and just sort of sit and stare at this guy from across the room until everyone is roughly wrapped up.
Mm-hmm. I think the shopkeepers and everyone would talk amongst themselves for a moment. Like in earshot of all of you, not like they're pulling them out, but like not questioning him, but are still, for some of them, under the Zone of Truth spell. And their conversation kind of leans towards, like, if we let him live, there's nothing that stops him from reporting us. If we let him live and like make him promise to like run off and not become a problem, we can only watch so far before anything else is there. If we all feel bad about killing him, we could always maim him in a way that like we could cut out his tongue and make it so he could never tell what's going on, but that doesn't really shield against like mind magic or like reading or any sort of psychic communication. So I think the best way would either to be take him out permanently or make it in a way that his mind can't be seen into anymore. And Delilah like takes a step and be like, I don't have anything that can do that, but I think we could probably get a potion made that could render him psychically inept if it was something that you wanted to do. And if any of you are having thoughts, feel free to like interrupt them. They're, like I said the last episode, they're all very much like mad at this man and like very much not coming from a spot of empathy, but a spot of like their own life saving. And they're ready to like just kind of like, they might not kill him, but they might make it so that he doesn't hinder them.
Og will just shout out a little bit and just be like, "Let's kill him," in a really cheerful voice.
Okay.
Nori, this entire time, is like internally thinking, where the hell are these guys coming from? In terms of just like the past week experience with Cass and Frog, and like not necessarily feeling this level of chaotic energy or vigilantism. And so Nori is very much thinking in her head of, what the fuck are we gonna do? Alright, what the heck are we gonna do?
As you are having that thought, you're probably hearing the voices of your parents in the back of your head being like, humans can't be trusted, humans will do anything they need to do to keep themselves going, humans will lie and cheat and steal, like, humans will take everything that's precious to the land and use it against it. Like, I think those thoughts from your parents are starting to, like, seep in a little bit. And what does Nori do as she starts to, like, hear that again?
Well, what would Nori... I feel like this is a DM question. What would Nori feel in this situation in terms of, like, if this was happening in Feyland, what would happen within Feyland compared to what is happening in human land, so to speak?
Yeah, I think that's a really fun question. And I think the answer would be that, like, in Feyland, this wouldn't really happen. Because, like, the Fey, like, happen from their courts and stuff. And, like, everyone has their place, everyone has their role. And, like, Fey aren't likely to, like, act out in this way. They're more likely to wait until someone says something that they can use against them. They're more likely to be, like, playing a court role. Or they're more likely to try and trick someone into agreeing to something and then be like, oh, well, you said, so we have to hold you accountable. It's a lot more slow-moving pieces across lifetimes because, like, they age so slowly, if at all, that they could take a long time to come up with any sort of solution or any sort of, like, plan. And this is something that I think the, like, human and mortal part is something that Nori is also seeing for maybe the first time, is like, these people don't have centuries to come up with a way to improve their life. They have maybe 20, 30 years left and need to think about their children or think about the rest of the town before they're gone. And so what, like, you've seen out, like, you're 200 something years old, like, maybe you've seen in court, like, one or two people try and, like, move something around slowly. These people have a tenth of that time for their entire life left.
Mm-hmm. I think with that knowledge that Nori has, in addition to some of the things that are creeping up from her parents, Nori still is not gonna say anything, being the outsider of the town, but also just additionally like a race of an outsider, and doesn't really want to mess things up, but she's gonna try and start grinding her gears about maybe something she could do to potentially save this man's life, but then also not actively try to stop anyone ending it.
Okay. So we have middle ground, we have kill him, and Cass, where do you fall?
I mean, I'm lying. If they're going to kill him, I'm not taking part in it. I just know from my experience with the organizations I've been involved with in the past that sometimes idle threats just don't cut it in these situations. But also from experience, I know in the back of my head, it's not what I want to do. It's up to these merchants what they want to do. They have to live with it. This man very well may not be able to survive unless they find a solution to keep him quiet. Like, Cass will not dirty his hands in this manner. He never does. But he understands the realities of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, just sort of overhearing what they're doing, still Cass is maintaining eye contact with this guy. He'll sort of say to the group, being like, ideally, letting this guy live, or just tell the group, like, in my experience, killing the guy is the easy option, but that is something that all of you will have to live with for the rest of our lives. He does not want to die, obviously. He is hired to do a job, and that is what he's doing. Again, this is your land. You guys have been impacted by this much greater than we have, but just think carefully about what our next steps are. Again, I want to help this area. I think all of our comrades do as well. But we just have to tread carefully, because escalating too soon in this fashion can often cause kickback from the controlling party, which could make your situations even worse. And with that, I'm just going to sort of sit back and let them continue their conversation and sort of stay out of it for the most part at this point.
How, between all of this discussion, how long is left with my spell?
Maybe a minute.
Nori is going to jump in and ask, when you get this money, where does it go at the end of the day? Or do we know this and this is just redundant?
No, you wouldn't know.
Okay. Where does it go specifically? If that even matters.
At the end of the day, it gets placed into a small portal that allows it to be transported where it needs to. But for the majority of the day, it stays in the wall, in the collection jar, until I send it.
So you're responsible for sending it through the portal?
Yes.
Have you seen where the portal goes?
No.
Do you know where the portal goes?
I am led to believe it goes either to the estate or vault of Lord Bellman, but I cannot say that with entire certainty.
And then we would know the estate or vault of this man would be here in this town, or then would be in Solana.
It'd be like at his house in Solana, probably.
How far of to travel? Sorry. How long is travel
like
from here to...
A couple days.
Okay. What is the average amount of money you are transferring into the portal every day?
On typical days, it is anywhere between 20 to 30 gold. On the market days, it can go as high as 50. I think with that question, you would feel your spell go down.
Okay. Nori would then probably, or is not Cass, Kane and Jace and Delilah and the rest of them, they're still chatting. Like,
they've kind of like hushed their voices a bit and have like retreated a bit more to try and have a more private conversation. And they're clearly trying to consider what Cass has said, but also like their own thoughts of their own place.
I think Nori will pipe up just a little bit and say, with this information, would taking, because Nori can math really, really well, the 200 to 300 gold weekly back into the community make a difference? I'm not saying that just 1 week, I mean over the course of like a couple months. Would that make a difference in the community? To the group.
Yeah, I think Jace would turn back and they'd say, yeah, like that's several, like that would be enough to like pay everyone in the town their wages and keep everything running and allow us to go back to having profits needed to run stores and all of that. It would allow for the infrastructure that's been diminished to be kept up. It'd be allowed for performers to come back to the tavern and have more reason people to come on non-market days. That was how the town used to run when it was exchanges of goods and services versus how it runs now when it's all going as tax. And I think, Frog, you would be a testament to that. Like, it's been 6 months or so since you were paid to play here, and this is not the town it was in. Like, this is not the same style town as when you would have been paid to be here.
So a potential third, fourth, or fifth option would be a man who we don't know his name.
Name him Cedric.
Cedric could then be a double spy. And so he could then give the money back and then potentially return it to the town. If you think that the money goes to an estate or vault, it may just go into like a general pile. You like put the money through and it goes chink into the next pile. And so Jarl Bellman, whatever his name is, won't necessarily see or feel the dent in his pocketbook right away, and that would then extend your guys' time to figure out a bigger plan and put something bigger in motion in the chain of events. And Nori's then just going to back away into the wall in hopes that that didn't offend anyone, looking at Frog and Cass and hopefully being nonchalant or not bringing attention to herself, but like looking to see if she has any type of Nori, you screwed up your words again, way to go. At least I didn't tell someone that they should die. You know, we're trying improvements over the past 24 hours. What can I say?
Frog will just kind of look disappointed, I guess, a little bit. First of all, because she doesn't trust him to be a double spy. I know that's not the correct word for that, but I can't remember what it's called. What's it called?
It's called a double spy. In world, the term is double spy.
Okay, it's the lore. So...
Two of you said it in the same episode, it became canon.
She doesn't trust him to be a double spy. And she also just wants to kill him. So she's not feeling super great about that idea. Sorry, Nori.
If Nori's getting the vibe of what I said was appropriate versus I'm sad about the potential of not killing him, Nori would be able to understand that difference and at least get socially, that was much more acceptable than telling a man to go die.
Yeah, and I think the townspeople would resonate with you a bit in like they also don't trust. They're not like Cass has made a compelling point on why they might not want to kill. But they also do not trust this man. But I think the way that Nori proposed would be like it's easy to check in on. Like if at the end of the first day the gold is not given to the townspeople, right away they know he's gonna break it and can kill him. Like he's essentially the first day he doesn't do his job, they have purpose to just break the contract. I think, for now at least, they would be willing to, like, as long as they have a feeling that he is not going to run off, as long as they feel like he's living in fear enough of, like, the policy, and they'd probably assign someone else to be, like, a co-gatekeeper to make sure that they would allow him enough time to either figure out how to get to Solana and get this reprimanded, whether that's like talking to the church and telling them that he's doing really bad and that like if the church is trying to promote peace and like this position has caused violence, like that's not the official stance of the church, that's not what they would want to do. Or if like other people could talk to Bellman and like call him out, get an actual confession from him that could be brought in front of like a court or something. I think they're willing to give the benefit of the doubt on buying time, but not for very long, and the second that trust is broken, Cedric would be going down.
Oh, do we still want to try to get in contact with either the Archdeacon or Elman using Cedric? Like, to either plot against them or to convince them, kind of like what John was saying, or whoever, I guess that was the
Would have been
the
collective.
townspeople,
He's
right?
just kind of like the front leader, so they would probably have been the one giving, like, their address would just be like, we
Yeah.
don't need to resort to violence. We could try what our Fae friend is telling us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, like, Nori, even though we said, like, they're not Fae racists, you do still get the vibe of, like, their understanding that you're trying to approach it from a, like, decades, centuries long approach. You're trying to trim it down, but they also understand, like, that's why they're like, the first second he slips up, no.
I would agree with Frog. I think that we/you need some type of additional safety net or something in place to then just give the image of not catching on to then having a spy within the meeting. I think that would be appropriate. And also, I'm sure one of us or they can intimidate Cedric enough to have him write it and it sound convincing.
As this conversation is happening, Cass is just gonna stand up relatively like abruptly and go over to Cedric actually and just rummage through his stuff. I realized he never did that, and he could have something that could help us here.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead and investigate his stuff. I'll say, like, baseline, you find, like, he has 2 daggers on him. He's got a little arcane focus that's like a necklace around his neck. And then he's got, like, 4 or 5 pouches of 100 gold each on him. Like, he's pretty well off. But if you're looking for anything more intricate, you can try and find anything he's hiding on his person.
16.
Okay. Yeah, he...
and you said he had 5 pouches of about 100 gold each?
Hmm.
Okay. I am going to take all 5 of those pouches, and then when the townsfolk look back over, just toss them back to them and be like, here's a start. Like, distribute this as needed amongst the townspeople. And then, yeah, roll 16.
Yeah, I think on that 16 you would find, like, his official, like, seal with his, like, official signature that, like, if anything were to be given from his hand, that would have to be on there. Like, no matter how good the forgery was, without that, it would be a clear indication that it was a forgery or a fake. So you would, like, if you are going the letter plan, you now know, like, this is something he could have concealed, but you now have it to force.
And I'll end up taking that and just going, and I'll give it to Frog to start, since she's sort of working with the townsfolk at this point. And then I'm going to go sit back down, just sort of continue what I was doing, just realizing, like, hey, this will help make our decision easier of what they want to do.
I don't know what our plan should be as far as, like, what to write in the letter. I don't know if we want to try to, like, lure whatever his name is. I don't know why none of us can remember his name. Bellman?
My only concern with us trying to lure him here is, 1, we have to stay here longer. Like, if we're wanting to be in that plan. And 2, $10 says he has guards that are very well trained, and we are a mighty party. However, we're not that mighty. And so that might need to be a not Fae long game, but human kind of long game plan. Especially if we want to hit up Solana anyway, we can offer to do some recon for them and hopefully figure out sending at least between Cass and I. So we would have that readily available to send to Delilah, Kane, Jace, whoever we wanted.
Perhaps we could write a letter, or have him write the letter summarizing what we did at our meeting, and just have it be like, you know, they're really stupid and they didn't do anything and they've got nothing on us, like, whatever. So that Almond doesn't have any concerns, and then just keep going with the plan of getting the money back from Cedric each day until he catches on, and then by that time we might be already in Solana. We could stay in communication with people and then figure things out from there. I don't know.
hearing this suggestion from Frog, Cass from his younger years with the team he worked with would have experience in dealing in some types of forgeries and not having to worry about that seal, making it that much easier. Cass would be able to help write this up in a way that seems convincing enough to where it wouldn't raise flags, but also wouldn't throw any suspicion upon what would happen here, I would assume, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Cass will offer his services in that, but it has to be, that's the agreed upon approach. And with that, I will sort of go up to Frog and just let her know that, hey, just FYI, we do need to at least stay here maybe for another day. I'm waiting on a quick correspondence to figure out some more information on what's happening here and if this is a situation we can solve internally or if this is a larger scale issue specifically. Just so she's aware of like what Cass's timeline specifically is in the town.
Yeah.
I think all of these plans can come together without having to figure out every detail of it. So yeah, I'll say that like you all are able to convince, like you don't. It's not even like you're convincing. Like the town representatives are like aware of what you're saying, and they think it'll be good. They also think it'll be good for you all to be in town for the first day or so. So like Cass, if you have to stay for your thing, that it would make sense that you all are here because you're clearly the ones that are. Like you wouldn't be coming into clean house, but like you are part of this intimidation. So having you here would be more beneficial for them. So yeah, I think they are there. And I'll say either Frog with intelligence or Cass with deception can dictate what you want written. And Cedric will write it himself. And like that seal will give you advantage. So whoever wants to do it can. It'll just come down to whether Frog, you try and think of like the legalese and like the way to make sure everything you need doesn't have a loophole written in, or Cass, you like give a really good like description and they'll like word it in a way that keeps that like if it were to be checked out, it still holds up. So you two can decide who does it, and then we'll have that roll be made.
I'll leave it to Frog on this one.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So just a flat intelligence check at advantage.
Okay.
Can I
No
cast
modifiers?
guidance?
You can get guidance. What do you say, Julie?
No modifiers?
Well, it's like whatever your intelligence roll is.
Okay. I don't know. I got confused. I was like, okay. I got 7. Oh, with advantage. Okay. Well, still 7.
D4 with my guidance.
Oh wow. It's my lucky day. Okay. 22.
22. Okay. And for the other two that aren't like focusing on doing this, can I get a perception check from you both, please?
No, you may not. Oh, I'm perceptive.
17.
To be able to remember the fact that I am perceptive. 15.
15. Cass, do you want to guide yourself at all?
No,
I think you should guide yourself.
Okay, sure. 19.
Okay. And nothing stands out to you. It seems like the letter is written just fine, and it seems like he's writing it in a way that works out for what it is. And actually, there was one person. Lila should have rolled for that as well. Okay, yeah. No one has any comments on it. Frog, you have a letter. It looks all official. It seems all sealed and everything. You get it wrapped up, and you have the letter that you asked him to write, and it works out.
Sorry. In this manner, would how could I go about trying to detect if he's doing anything magic? Well, never mind. He wouldn't be able to because he's in the. Okay, never mind. Nori self-realization.
Yeah, he wasn't approved to cast spells inside the anti-magic chamber.
Yeah, so he can't really do anything, so.
And then while this letter's just sort of getting written and they're sort of sealing it, getting it all put together, I'm going to just switch back with Quizzle, who's still on the roof, and just do another quick scope perimeter check, make sure nothing crazy's going on.
Yep. Quizzle can just let you know easily, like, nothing has changed.
Right,
he's been doing his little squirrel job and everything's still safe here.
Go, Quizzle!
Okay. Cool. Well, you all have the letter. If Cass, you're waiting on a letter anyway, they ask if you'd be happy to send it in the post. And then you all can retire back to town, to your rooms, I mean, more than town. And I think you guys get to kind of decide, like, it wasn't stated that you'll be going to Solana to figure it out, but you did kind of imply you would. So if there's anything you would want to try and do and let the town people know about, you can let them know, like, tomorrow morning and take the night for just the three of you to have that discussion.
I think that's the best approach. A lot has happened to where I think as a group we probably would discuss. So I would just start heading back to the room, not really say too much more. Maybe just say thank you to like Kane and Jace, just so since they invited us all at fun stuff, and tell them we'll be in contact with them tomorrow.
Yeah. And I think it all, like, you all again kind of like trickle out, so it's not like a huge leaving. Cedric is let go, like is released, but is being held at Delilah's shop overnight. They don't want like a quick getaway before they even have a chance to see if this plan will work out, and so he's been kept at her shop for the night. And yeah, you all are going back to Dakota's inn and get to go meet up with each other. I think some things that like may have happened that you all like would need to talk to each other about are very clearly the townspeople and their responses to things. But also, like, Nori, I think you learned a lot about how humans think, and it might be something that you may or may not want to discuss with the others, because it's kind of the first time that your parents have been proven right. And it's not really like something they've seen. Cass, you had Frog in your head, and it didn't feel like a message cantrip. Like, it felt more invasive. So I don't know if you'd bring that up or not, but you had a moment where Frog just fully went inside of your head, as well as both of you knowing that, like, you've kind of just seen, like, calm, reserved Frog, and now you're suddenly seeing, like, murder Frog. So if any of you wanted to see where that came from, and Frog, same for you, like, the others don't know much about you, but you know more about them. Like, if there's anything that you would need them to know about you that would lead to it, I think this is a moment where all of you, like, have been traveling together for a couple of days, but this is a moment that you all have started to get to know each other. So those would be thoughts in all of your heads as you're going back to the inn.
We got separate rooms.
Yeah.
Well, if y'all want to come hang out in my room for a little bit, I think we have some interesting things to talk about, to say the least.
Yeah, Frog will stop by the bar and get a little snacky snack to bring up to the room because she is too hungry from all the excitement, even though it's like 1 a.m.
Cass will follow, not really saying too much at this point.
Well, this was an interesting evening, wasn't it? Well, first, how did I do? Did I do the right things in human land? Did I draw too much attention to myself? Was I subdued enough? What do you think? How did I do?
Frog will just give her like a little pat on the arm and be like, "You did great."
Thanks, Frog.
Cass will just be sitting in the corner and like put his fingers up, finger in the air, and cast prestidigitation and have like little fireworks shoot out of it for a little bit, being like, "Yeah, good job."
Well, based on that, is this normally how humans like to handle conflict, because this was a little shocking. And the things that my parents have reinforced in my head about humans kind of came up, and so it's just kind of impacting my judgment, and I have some conflicting feelings.
Cass will glance up at Frog, just sort of questioning look of unspoken, how do we want to handle this type thing. And he'll sort of go into his side of it, explaining that he had no intent of personally doing harm to this man, besides subduing him so he didn't escape. But will explain to her that lives are being ruined in the town, and especially in smaller villages like this, simple setback, like you said, of I don't think you quite understand how much gold is being lost. Perhaps, like you asked if 300 gold would make a difference, and yes, we did just get a lot of gold from Dolly for helping her, but that is more gold than some shops make in a whole like month or 2 months or 3 months potentially. Like this large sums of money affecting everyone's lives. So their emotions come out from their families getting affected because they want to make sure they can provide. So it is understandable. But Frog, on this note, you seemed very eager. I'm not against it. It's fine. It's just I feel like we don't know you all that much. Like, and we got to know you a little bit more. Also, when you did the whole like talking in my head thing, but you did do that, right? I'm not just making this up. Like you, okay. Are you always doing that, or is this like a one-time thing? Can you read my thoughts, or what is going on here?
Frog is just gonna be like, yeah, all I do is talk. I can't hear you. And then turn to Nori and be like, she's like delirious and like just like high on life because of this evening, and she's just gonna like gaslight Nori and be like, just be like, what do you mean? That was totally normal. That just always happens. This is how we are.
Deception versus insight, go.
I'm gonna guidance myself.
18.
Okay. So +3 plus another 4. Hold on, 24.
Yeah, whatever Frog is trying to say is normal, you cut right through it.
Okay. Nori this entire time like has had her notebook out, flipped to the front section, and like was notating what Cass was saying and was like really invested, like, oh yeah, totally, that makes sense. And then when Frog started talking, she's like, and like pretends to feverishly write, but just writing, Frog is a little question mark life question mark just from her own interpretations. But yeah, I'll say, okay, all right, that makes a lot of sense, I guess. I don't know, I'll have to think and do some praying about it, I guess. I don't know, or maybe not pray, we'll just figure it out. So what do we want to do? We want to go to Solana? We can go to Solana. I just don't think bringing a guy here is still a good idea for the townspeople just in general. I feel like based on the Cedric's suggestions of the town can die, scorched land question mark, winter palace training land, I don't think it's a good idea for him to come here if we want to protect the area, quote unquote. So us going to Jorls might be the way to go. What? Jarls? Jarls. Jarlardalingo. Jarls. I think that might be the way to go. And Nori's gonna stop talking.
Cass seeing Frog just amped up on adrenaline and dopamine releases from the past 2 hours, and Nori just struggling with words due to the lateness of the hour. Jess is gonna like look at the group, be like, "Yeah, these are all things that need to be discussed. However, I don't know if right this instant is the best time to be discussing them. I think we should all get some sleep real quick, and we can meet up in the morning."
Yeah, and I'll say, world-wise, even if the question comes down to like, should we address this in Solana, you would all have a couple days walk in which you could have more time with just the three of you to plan this. It's not a question that like you would need to have a plan developed before you leave Fell. It could be like, we're going to figure things out when we get there, and you'd have a couple days of getting there to figure it out.
Okay. Then Nori will agree with Cass and say, "It is very much past my bedtime and I would really like to sleep. So I'm totally okay going to bed and deciding in the morning. We've at least decided we're going to stick in town for another full day."
Yes.
That is my plan, yes.
Okay. Perfect. Well, good night. And Nori's just gonna like start getting into bed and expecting Frog and Cass to just skedaddle.
Frog will head to her room and write her letter to her younger siblings before going to bed.
And Cass will return to his room as well, opening the window to let Quizzle scatter in until the spell disperses, and just sort of lay in bed until he falls asleep, so on and so forth.
Yeah, a nice like cool breeze comes in with Quizzle, and just like fills the room, and you would all go to bed. Yeah, you'll take a long rest. Everything will be restored. You can wake up around 9 or 10 in the morning, so a little bit late. By the time you get up, everything outside seems to be back to normal. Like, if anyone not aware of the second meeting last night, like the people that were at the first meeting are just kind of like villagers who are moving around, so it's not really like they'd be aware of a lot. And especially that secondary meeting, no one seems to have tipped anyone off. Everything seems pretty calm. The only difference you'd all see is that when you go outside, Kane is at the gate with Cedric. He's in his wheelchair, sitting there, like just being a secondary. Like, he's kind of got the presence of like, oh, we're welcoming people to town, and his job is to welcome. But for anyone that is informed, you would know his job is like also supervising. But otherwise, like, the people have seemed to have done a really good job of just like letting today be today and see what happens.
All right, Cass would wake up, just get his things in order, and just sort of head down into the or bar area and just sort of wait. Probably be reading through his book, waiting for. I'm assuming Cass would wake up prior to the other two, with Nori probably being the longest in terms of sleeping.
Yeah, Nori's gonna take an extra hour to sleep in.
Frog is gonna get up, pack up her things, and head down to meet Cass. Totally back to her old self, like not hyped up or anything. They'll just come down and hang out, and also cast Mage Armor on herself to start the day.
Mm-hmm. And what do you say to Cass as you get down there? Or what does he see that like indicates that shift back in demeanor?
Frog will say like, "Good morning," have a seat, and then just like go get breakfast and sit down and just like eat her breakfast like nothing at all happened last night.
Castle, I mean, obviously be fine with the company, but just sort of like raises eyebrows. She sets her stuff down and goes to get the drinks, being like, interesting. All right. And goes back to just reading. And when she comes back, actually, I'm assuming this will be roughly when Nori would be coming down, just discussing with her the concept of the teleportation spell that the wall is using, and potentially bringing that up with Delilah, since she seems to be the most magically adept in the town, to see if there's a way that they can replicate this for people in terms of maybe if she can figure this out, instead of dealing with the wall, they have a back entrance where people can come in and out that is readily known to the people outside town. But that is something we will not be spending time on, is Cass's stance. That's something more the town can investigate on their own.
I will just be like, yeah, that's a good idea. And then she'll be like, kind of like the eyeballs. And then that's all.
Nori will just start laughing.
Cass is just gonna look back down and be like, all right, I forgot. This is the normal now.
And Nori will say, I like the hand motion when we went up to your eyeballs. That was a good touch.
If anyone needs to go do anything, like, just let's try to keep in touch. So if something does happen to go down, we're not completely out of sorts of where everyone is, and just sort of let them know, like, he may just go around town keeping track of, like, what the guards exactly are doing, like, inconspicuously, and he will be checking the post to see if his letter has arrived yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for the morning mail, I'll say your letter hasn't arrived, but when you check back for, like, the afternoon shift, kind of like around, like, 4 p.m., you'll have a letter waiting for you there. And then well, let's just go in order. Cass, anything else you're doing?
I think that would be it. Maybe just spending a little bit more time looking over that pack, not for anything in general, just becoming familiar with it, and looking at that potion again. Again, not really trying to reinvestigate it, but just pondering, like, what it really could do at this point.
Yeah. I think since you have all day, you could take the time to investigate both of them, or we can create little scenes around both of them that are very short if you'd like to.
Let's do it around... I don't really think there's much else to do with that pact. It's just more... It would be more of a curiosity to Cass than anything. But I will... Yeah, we can do a quick check on the potion. That would be appreciated.
Yeah, go ahead and redo that thing. Check that you made.
Investigation or that Arcana?
It could be either the investigation, the survival, or the nature.
Oh, investigation, survival, and nature. Okay.
Or medicine. That was the other one that we had as an option.
Yes, we'll do investigation. 18.
18. Yeah, I think this time you have a lot more time to sit with it and a lot more to investigate. And, like, you, like, try and figure it out, and you see, like, that it doesn't seem to have any magic, and you know that from Identify, so you maybe, like, pour it out on a little bit of, like, take a piece of paper and drop a bit of it or something, and as that, like, bit of water hits the paper, it's very caustic and dissolves immediately, and you have a feeling that this might be a poison more than a potion. It's disguised as a healing potion, but you can tell that it's much more, like, it would be ingesting straight poison if someone were to drink it.
And discovering this, Kaz is just gonna sort of, like, smirk to himself and be like, that's a good one. I will take just a drop of it, not wasting much at all. And the table's wood, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to just drop it on the wood. Is it the same reaction straight through, or does it take a hot second?
Yeah, so I rolled a d4 to see how quickly it cuts through, and I got a 3. So I'd say, like, if the table's about an inch thick, it would be, like, half of an inch to, like, 2/3 of the way in within a couple of seconds of you dropping it on there.
Good to know. And Castle just sort of tuck that comfortably in his pouch, like wrapping it in a little bit of cloth to make sure it doesn't bust. And you will not tell the others about it quite yet.
Okay. And then, would you, like, if you're just, like, out in the tavern, like, reading over your letter, checking the pact and everything, would you be doing that all in the same spot, or would the pact be happening somewhere else?
The potion would be happening right where we were, just, like, sort of as the group sort of disperses. The pact would probably be more in, not like a hiding area, but, like, more of a secluded corner, or, like, somewhere where, like, let's say the bar's crowded, like, get away from the in and out traffic of the tavern itself. So it's like it's not trying to hide it per se, because to his understanding, not many people are going to know what it is anyway, but not overtly just sharing it with everyone.
Yeah. So I think the only person that would really come up to you would be Dakota. Like she'd come up to like clean off some tables in the area and like refill your drink if you were running out. And I think she sees it and she's pretty smart and she goes, "Oh, if you're interested in law, the academy, the Solana Academy has some of the best lawyers in the world. They're of course all warlocks because nobody understands the letter of the law better than a warlock, but if you're interested in studying law and legal information, there'd be professors there who can help you out with that."
Yeah, so thank her and be like, of course, that is obviously my drive and what I want to do in this world. So I will make sure to go look at that.
Over the day, I'll at least spend time with sending and silent image so I can learn those.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that'll be a lot of what Nori does. I might go back and tag along with Cass to go to Delilah's shop and pick up a couple more of the potions because those are pretty cool. But other than that, that's all Nori's gonna do.
Okay. And Frog, you said you're staying in town. Is that changing at all, or you think you're staying right in the tavern?
Frog is gonna talk to Dakota and see if she can do a little set to try to earn some coins, perhaps.
Yeah. Go and make me a performance check.
What's my performance modifier?
I think it's +1.
+3. You liar.
+3. I said I think.
I know. 15.
Yeah, it's a pretty good show. Yeah.
Okay, nice. She was singing some songs about Dolly, so she misses Dolly. And then she did some magic tricks as well.
Very good. Well, then I think, yeah, we'll do it with all of the like in town wrapped up. We'll move on to like you all leaving town. So all of your things are done. Cass, your letter is received, and you know that like you could really drop it. Like you've been seeing Frog like dropping them in post boxes throughout the country. So if you wanted to send it like on, you wouldn't need to see any like you wouldn't need to be in town to send it or anything. You would just put like the next town you plan to be in or anything like that. And you would all be able to make your way onto Solana. Heading out. It'll be a couple of days, so there's a few like there's time for you all to reflect on things, and there's time for you guys to decide exactly what you want to do in town. But let me tell you a little bit about what you see as you're leaving. Well, I guess first, is there anything you all are one last thing before you leave? Is there anyone you want to check in with? Anything like that? The first day with Cedric goes fine. Nothing seems to have been a problem there.
Yes, I want to buy a couple more potions from the shop.
Yep, how many more are you buying?
How much was it per potion?
It was 3 silver per potion.
I will take 8 more.
8 more, okay. Set, you take your 8 more potions. And we'll say you have the time. So go ahead and roll me. You get a potion of beauty. You get a potion of fasting that allows you to go 24 hours without food or drink without giving you any complications of like starvation or anything. Okay, for that one, you gain a climb speed, and you are able to climb until your next long rest. This one seems to have like a weird off necromantic energy to it. And it seems like it's a potion that if someone were to drink it, they would momentarily, for like 1d4 hours, lose the memory of like their trainings. So like if someone needed to be dealt like no longer able to do wizard magic or no longer able to be a fighter or no one like cleric, you could temporarily suppress their memories of their training. For that one, you believe you got turned into a frog.
The potion?
Yeah, like not frog. Like it makes you think that you have been turned into a frog.
Oh, okay.
I told you
Perfect.
they're random. They're not all good. You just guys got really lucky with which ones you
No,
drew.
I think makes you think you're a frog. That's great.
Probably should take that one.
Um, for that one, it's a free casting of disguise self or alter self.
Ooh. Okay.
A1. It allows you to change your size. You will keep like yourself, but you can either grow or shrink a foot.
Or permanently, or
Mm-hmm. Yep, permanently. This one is a potion of combustion. Anyone that drinks it will have the fireball spell cast on themselves. Very similar to like a wild magic going wrong. If you could like force someone to drink it and they'd essentially explode as well as anyone around them.
solid.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
We should spike Jarl's Bellman. Make his drink.
Good.
Good. Anyway, so yeah, you all leave town. On your way up, we're getting to like that end of summer, early fall vibe where the air starts to change a little bit, and also like as you're moving into the main part of town, like mainland country of Aelith, it gets warmer as you're no longer towards the coast. So the further north you go, it gets colder because there's the boreal lands way up there, all coated in ice. But you get closer to Solana and you start to see like little signs saying like Solana this far away, as well as the signs like Mary's Rise, which is now to your south and going away. You come across some farms that seem to have come up in the past, like since the war. They've been recovering. This land was often like the battlefields happened around here, so the fact that it's being taken back into land is really nice. You see a couple more spots that have some Felfay flowers, not nearly as much as the last part. And yeah, you just see a lot of like signs of life returning to the land as you make your way up. And I have you all make me a perception check, please. Or Nori, what's your passive perception?
Good question. Let me look. Passive perception is a +4. Sorry, 14.
14. Okay. Yeah, and the other two, what are your perception checks?
19.
3.
Okay. Yes, you're just kind of like probably taking in the sights. Like farmland is your home turf. Like seeing signs of regrowth probably mean a lot to you and everything. So probably taking that all in. Nori and Frog. There's been a scarecrow that you saw on a farm, and then you looked back and the scarecrow is also on this farm, and then you look back and the scarecrow is also behind you, and like you don't think you've seen 5 or 6 different scarecrows all the same. So how is this one following you?
That's spooky. Frog will probably point this out to Cass as well, so that he's kind of in on it. Nori, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say Nori's gonna sigh and turn around and do something. Very dramatic.
As you
Pause.
turn around and look at it, just so Nori has a better mindset. As you turn around, like it just looks like a regular ass scarecrow. Like if it wasn't for the fact that all of the scarecrows on all of these farms have had like their own like dresses, clearly like farmers' clothes that have grown too small or too big and been put on, you wouldn't really be able to tell anything else. And it might even just be a different scarecrow. It's just strange that you've seen the same one dressed the exact same like 5 times as you've been walking through these farmlands.
Have we seen?
Nori.
Have we seen both of them, like all of them at the same time? Like, are they like Superman and Clark Kent?
Not so much Superman and Clark Kent, more like it's on one farm and then you walk a bit and then it's like also on that farm and you walk a bit and it's also on that farm.
Okay. Nori, go ahead.
Nori's gonna say, give me 1 second. How far away from us is the scarecrow?
It's like out in like one of the fields that's growing some fruit and stuff. So probably like 60 to 100 feet, depending on how far off the main road you get.
I'm gonna get within 30 feet and cast Detect Magic.
And as soon as she starts walking towards this thing, Cass is just gonna turn, look at her, just tap his chest and re-up mage armor and be like, here we go.
You don't get any magic aura off of it.
Okay, I'm gonna yell back and say, do you want me to throw a rock at it?
Yes.
Okay, Nori will pick up a rock and chuck it at it.
Cool, make an attack roll. It's a ranged attack, so d20 plus your dex.
I love all these things. 13.
13 hits. Yeah, you throw the rock, and you just kind of see, like, its face is, like, just a little happy smile with some, like, little button eyes. Its hands are outstretched like a scarecrow. And as you throw the rock, like, one of the hands moves forwards and catches it. Like, the painted mouth, like, stretches open, and you see inside it going, like, goes from, like, a painted smile. It's, like, a 3-inch gap with teeth inside, and, like, the eye buttons turn inside, and, like, little flames come up. He's not trying to hurt you, so can you make a wisdom saving throw, please?
Oh, yes, I can because I'm very wise. Plus 6, 23.
Yeah, you see that the scarecrow tries to like take its features and shape them into something that would scare Nori to try and like scare you into paralysis, and you just shake it off. You're like, Scarecrow, you ain't shit. Nothing comes through scaring Nori, and you feel like you shake off the sense of fear you may have felt towards the scarecrow.
Okay. I'll shout back, hey guys, this thing's kind of creepy. Do we want to like take it out, or do we just want to walk away?
Cass is just gonna start walking forward.
Okay, and when I notice
Forward
this,
the scarecrow or forward away from the scarecrow?
Away from the scarecrow.
oh, never mind. Noticing this, Nori will then say, okay, peace out, and walk away and see what happens.
And
Nice.
sort of like as he starts walking, like I'm assuming like Cass is just sort of walking with his quarterstaff in hand, just sort of like using it as like a walking stick, just a habit. And he's gonna just take it and just draw something unique in the side of the like dirt road, just something specific to mark this is where we were type thing.
Frog will also start walking away, but backwards so that she maintains eye contact with him the whole way.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, you're able to keep walking. As you walk backwards, Frog, the eye contact, like you look at it, it doesn't have its gaping maw, it doesn't have its flame eyes, it's just a happy little scarecrow with some little button eyes. And you look at it until like you crest over the horizon, and you're fine. Yeah. And then probably like 20 minutes later, as you guys are starting to get ready for like probably turning down for the first night, you look over to like your horizon, and like right outside of the farmland, a little scarecrow standing there again. Cass, you check the ground. Your sigil's not there. But the scarecrow seems to be right over the horizon, just smiling and standing out in a field.
That's creepy as fuck. I don't know about you guys. I would probably suggest if we're sleeping out in the open tonight that we take shifts, because I don't feel like waking up with that thing next to us.
Nori I'll go ahead and volunteer for the first shift and set up her little pine cones in order and just hang out with her pine cones.
Yeah. Cool. Your shift goes on. Make me a perception or investigation choice.
I am much more wise. What was that? 19 plus 4. is 23.
23, yeah. You feel pretty confident there's nothing in the area coming for you. The only thing that you'd really notice is that, like, while you're looking at the scarecrow, like, some crows are, like, in the field, or, like, some crows will, like, land on it, or, like, some animals will move around or something. But then, like, the moments, like, you look away to, like, adjust your pine cone, or to write in your book, or look to say a prayer or something, and you look back up, all of the animals, like, you hear, like, a squeak, and they're gone, and the scarecrow's just standing there living his little scarecrow life. Your shift passes without issue.
Okay.
I'll take the next shift.
Okay.
Sorry, Frog, did you say you were going to take it? Sorry.
You can take it.
Okay. I'll take the next shift, and at the start of my shift, I'm going to cast just protection from evil and good on myself. Just as I'm sitting there, just sort of keeping an eye out.
And that's for Fae, Celestials, and Devils. and
Aberrations, Celestials, Elementals, Faes, Fiends, and Undead.
Cool. Yeah, you cast on yourself. Is there anything you're doing other than watching our scarecrow friend?
No, that would probably be it.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and make your perception check. Seven?
Yep.
Yeah, you're not really sure about anything. You're spending so much of your time staring straight ahead. You could have sworn that it's moved closer whenever you'd glance away, but that could just be your mind playing tricks on you.
All right. I will relay that to Frog when we have our final switch.
Frog will
Frog,
take the next watch. What am I rolling?
Well, if there's anything you're doing, let me know. Otherwise, just like to check for safety, it's just been perception checks.
Yeah, no. Frog is too creeped out by this to do anything else. Ooh, a nat 20. Plus
Nice.
4.
Yeah, you feel pretty confident that there's nothing else in the area, especially like as you're just kind of like surveying the land. You see like the skeletons of birds or other like small woodland creatures that have tried to get into the fields, and they all seem to have been consumed or destroyed in some other way. So you don't think any sort of creatures are coming after you. You don't hear anyone else. You don't see any like sort of monsters or anything coming around. And just at like a distance that feels comfortable, you just see some button eyes and a painted smile looking back at you, wearing a nice little straw hat and some farmer's clothes.
Frog doesn't do anything. She just sits there. She's still creeped out by it, even though it's smiling at her.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. The next morning comes and you all are able to continue on your way. I think for the purposes of our story, the next couple of days are going to be a lot of travel through like the same spots. So it's not like there's not going to be much that happens, but you all are able to make it to the gates of the city. For those of you who've been to Solana before, it looks very much the same as it has been. For those who are listeners, or for Nori who hasn't been there, the way that the city is structured is that what was the fort during the war has been converted into the upper city. So as you're like kind of coming up to it, you see like towering above a like little wall of protection is first and foremost the largest thing you can see is the spires of the church of the Cathedral of Holy Peace, which is the is like the place where Archdeacon James Whitmore is, and that's like the highest point in town is this big cathedral honoring the Holy Peace and everything near it. Similar up to there, other things you'd see poking over the wall are, to a degree very close, the tops of the buildings of the different colleges of the Solana Academy. And so anyone that's been here before, you would know about the Academy's different colleges. It specializes in fighters and teaching like different martial tactics. It specializes in law and teaching people who are interested in contract and understanding the word different sorts of different sorts of like magic, all about contract and force of will and law and understanding. It also is one of the homes of the Clerical Division Training Center, where clerics who wish to enter into the faith of the Church of Holy Peace can go and learn about their clerical duties, as well as its like world-renowned status of having one of the most mind-breaking, shattering mage education centers. So like anyone that's going here to learn magic would be able to go in and learn, but they would be tested to a degree far beyond anything else that people would be able to see. I think the only other things you'd see tipping over the wall as you approach are like maybe the tops of some of the houses of either the lords who are higher up and can have their own like high home, or the top of the royal palace, which is where Prince Dion lives with his partner, and they are all at the house together. As far as you know, the tops of the royal palace can be seen right over the wall. On the outside, there is a bunch of things that I think you would all be familiar with. You can see the Royal Library. You can see the Hospital of St. Tig, which is a healing house run by clerics and alchemists to use magic to help people who have been sick or ill, to kind of just like quickly get them back on their feet, as well as pretty close to the entrance of town, the front face of the building for the House of Psychic Restoration, which is a building that was built up since the war. I don't know if you all would have been there, but it's a house for people who have kind of like fallen mentally ill after the war to go and receive treatment. The other building that would stand out to you as you approach is a giant Gothic manor right outside of town that has like its shrub yard, and it has its own gate, and it seems like the land around it has not been touched. And Cass specifically, you would know that this is the home of Amy Catonic, and it's Miss Catonic's home for youth. And then just a couple of other spots that we can experiment and find out about next time we play, because we are going to wrap up our session there. Thank you all for playing. Thank you for listening. I hope you are excited to enter Solana with us and kind of see different things from our players' point of view and find out more about them. We learned lots of things today about each of them that, drama. Including in our drama is that our next episode, we're going to have a guest. That's right. Monica Gill, a friend of the channel, is going to come in and play a guest with us. So we look forward to having her. And then, our normal everything. You can find us, you can email us, you can do all of it. We're help action needed all across the board, as well as rate, comment, do other things. I feel like my intro and my outro this episode were bad, so apologies, listener. Bye!